My name is Rachel Cooper, and if you had met me 2 years ago, you might have thought I had the perfect life. I had a stable job, a loving husband named Michael, and a beautiful home in Denver, Colorado. We had been married for nearly 12 years, and though life had grown predictable, I believed our love was unshakable. But life, as I would learn, can challenge even the strongest foundations, not through chaos or cruelty, but through quiet neglect and unspoken loneliness. Michael was a wonderful man. He worked hard as an architect, often coming home late, tired but still trying to smile for me. I worked in marketing and had long hours myself. Somewhere along the way, our connection began to fade. We still cared for each other, but the laughter, the small touches, the easy conversations, they had slowly disappeared. I used to tell myself that all marriages go through dull phases. That real love wasn't about excitement, but commitment. But deep down, I was craving to feel alive again. It all began the summer I met Ethan Miller, a 22-year-old intern who joined my marketing firm. He was enthusiastic, kind, and full of that unshaken belief that the world was still wide open. I was his supervisor, and from the start, he treated me with a level of respect and admiration I hadn't felt in years. He would ask about my ideas, listen to my feedback, and thank me sincerely for my time. At first, I brushed off his friendliness. After all, I was happily married, and he was practically a kid fresh out of college. But over weeks of working together, I noticed how his optimism made me smile again. We'd share coffee breaks and talk about music, books, dreams. He told me how he wanted to start his own design company one day. I told him about the projects I'd given up when life got too busy. And one day, he said something that cut through me like lightning. "Rachel, you sound like someone who forgot how much she used to love life." That night, I sat in my car in the parking lot long after everyone had left, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. He was right, I had forgotten. What began as mentorship soon became emotional dependency. He would stay late to help me meet deadlines. We'd talk for hours about everything, except the one thing that truly mattered, that I was married. I tried to convince myself that it was harmless, that it was just friendship. But the truth was, my heart had begun to drift. One evening, after a team event, we found ourselves walking together through downtown. The city lights reflected on the wet streets after a light rain. He looked at me and said, "You deserve to be happy, Rachel." That moment changed everything, not because of what happened next, but because of what I let myself feel. For the first time in years, I felt seen, alive, appreciated. But it also filled me with guilt that I couldn't shake. When I came home that night, Michael was asleep on the couch, his work laptop still open, a cold cup of coffee beside him. I stood there watching him, this man who had built a life with me, who had held me through my worst days. And suddenly, all the excitement I felt earlier turned into deep, sharp shame. I knew I was crossing emotional lines I shouldn't. So I pulled back. I stopped replying to Ethan's late-night texts. I kept conversations professional, but he noticed the change and asked if he had done something wrong. "No," I told him. "I just need to remember who I am." He smiled sadly and said, "Then I hope you find her." The next few months were painful. Work felt heavy, and I avoided unnecessary contact with him. When the internship ended, he thanked me for everything and left the company. I thought that was the end of it, but the guilt followed me home. I tried to bury the memory, to act like nothing had happened, but Michael noticed my distant behavior. One night at dinner, he asked softly, "Rachel, are we okay?" I froze. My mind wanted to deny it, but my heart couldn't bear the lie anymore. So I told him everything. Not the dramatized version, not the edited story, just the truth. That I had grown lonely, that I had sought attention where I shouldn't have, that I had let someone else's words mean more to me than my husband's silence ever should have. He didn't speak for a long time. The hurt in his eyes was unbearable. Finally, he said, "Did you love him?" "No," I whispered. "I just forgot how to love you the way you deserved." That night, he left to stay with his brother. The house felt unbearably empty. For weeks, I lived with the echo of my own mistakes. I wrote him letters I never sent, apologizing not just for what I did, but for the ways I stopped trying before it happened. Then one morning, he came back. He didn't say much. He just handed me the letters I'd left in the mailbox, unopened, and said, "If you still want to fight for us, I'm willing to try too." We went to marriage counseling. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. I had to face every uncomfortable truth about myself, how I used validation as a substitute for love, how I stopped communicating my needs. Michael, too, admitted that he'd buried himself in work to avoid our growing distance. Over time, we learned to talk again. To laugh again. We rebuilt our marriage brick by brick, not by pretending nothing had happened, but by forgiving each other fully. 2 years later, I'm telling this story not because I'm proud of it, but because it reminds me of how fragile love can be, and how strong forgiveness truly is. Ethan, he's doing well. He started that design company he dreamed of. Sometimes I see his posts online, and I wish him nothing but good things. Because I learned that redemption isn't about erasing the past, it's about choosing to grow from it. If there's anything my journey taught me, it's this: sometimes we lose ourselves trying to be everything for everyone, a good wife, a good employee, a good friend, until we forget to nurture the love that quietly waits for us at home. Michael and I still have scars, but they've become part of our story. A reminder that love isn't perfect, but it's worth saving when both hearts are willing. And today, when he reaches for my hand while we watch the sunset, I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, beside the man who chose to forgive, and beside the woman who finally learned what love really means.